Well, and as Congressman Scalise continues to recover, some lawmakers now say they would feel a lot safer if they were allowed to carry guns for their own protection.
I'm going to be introducing legislation this week to do this, is to allow a congressman to carry a sidearm, should they so desire.
That's a debate that we're going to continue to have, but I think it's an important debate to have. This is a piece of shrapnel from a madman who came to politically kill innocent people. This is the reminder that all of us have, that we have to take a step back in this country. We have to tone down this rhetoric, and we've got to come together as a nation, as Americans, and say enough is enough.
Joining me now to discuss, Katie Pavlich, editor for townhall.com and a Fox News contributor. Also with us, Marianne Marsh, former senior advisor to Secretary John Kerry. Good to have you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Marianne, I'll start with you. There's plenty of protection for these guys on Capitol Hill. We all know anytime you go up there just how stringent the security is, but many of them are saying the minute they leave Capitol Hill, they feel like high-profile targets with no way to protect themselves. Would you support them being able to carry beyond that perimeter?
I think at a time when people are talking about toning down the political rhetoric, it doesn't make a lot of sense to increase access to guns, including for congressmen. But if you're going to make that argument, then you need to support a national standard of gun ownership. Let's have a baseline that everybody has to have, like universal background checks across the country, and have everybody be qualified for that, not just members of Congress. They should run under the rules everybody else is. So if you want to increase access to guns and you're a member of Congress, then you need to support a universal national policy that allows people to be subjected to that across the board. That might make sense. Again, I'm not sure it's the best time to be making that argument and trying to show people that at a time when guns seem to be more prevalent, more access to guns is more prevalent, more violent acts with guns are more prevalent. But if you're going to do that, let's make sure everybody plays under the same rules and do it there.
Let's bring in Katie, because there's a lot to respond to. I'll just leave it there.
In the words of Rand Paul, if there hadn't been the security guards there, the Capitol Police, at the field, it would have been a massacre. And the only reason why that shooting stopped is because two people with firearms were able to take out the assailant and the attacker. This is a no-brainer. Absolutely, congressmen should be able to carry firearms with a permit on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And this has been done before. In Texas, anybody with a regular concealed carry permit can walk into the state legislature with the firearm, whether you're a constituent or a lawmaker, and pass through security, bypass security as a result. So they've had no issues there at a time when congressmen and regular people feel like they are vulnerable. It's about being prepared, not being paranoid, and absolutely everybody should be allowed to carry concealed in these areas.
Well, and Marianne, I mean, we're talking about 535 members of Congress, all kinds of other cabinet officials and Supreme Court justices. I mean, there's no way to make sure that there is paid security for every single one of these people. Is this a workable solution for you with some of what Katie talked about? I mean, obviously, getting a permit entails a lot of things, and those tend to be the lowest crime, most law-abiding people in our societies, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, let's be clear. I mean, every one of those people that you just named works in probably one of the safest workplaces in America every single day, because the people who are paid to protect them, like the security detail from the U.S. Capitol Police,
but what about once they leave those
job.
areas? That's the question.
Okay, so again, we have a patchwork quilt of regulations across this country that not only varies from state to state, but city and town. So if you want to do this, then let's have one uniform national standard, because people come from every state, every city and town to serve in the Capitol. Let's have everyone have one standard. And the last point here is, in years now, when almost every governor now travels with a huge security detail, mayors travel with huge security details. The more we increase those security details and access to guns for people like this, they become separate from the very people they try to serve. And I think we start going down a slippery slope where we look like third world countries and banana republics that rely on guns to settle every dispute. We don't want to be that way.
First of all, we're not talking about giving security details to every member of Congress. We're allowing congressmen to defend themselves when they are attacked. Second of all, I agree with you. There should be a national standard. Every single person who purchases, every single person who buys a firearm in this country goes through a a federal background check if they're doing it legally. And third, the reason why people in Washington, D.C., including congressmen and regular citizens, are vulnerable is because Washington, D.C. has a different standard for concealed carry than states like Virginia, for example, where you're allowed to protect yourself. So don't say that we're going to act like a third world country when we're simply allowing people to take responsibility for their own safety when someone attacks them with a firearm, and the only way to fight back and save your life is with a gun.
You just made my point for me, Katie, when you said Virginia has a different standard than D.C. Let's everyone have one standard, including background checks, that includes mentally unstable people and all that.
We got to leave it there. We got to leave it there. There's much more we could explore in this. The Supreme Court has had a couple very important rulings on this issue the last few years, and the conversation will continue. Katie, Marianne, thank you very much.
Shannon.